So I had this dream, right? And it made me think about how, how the covering is set up. So you have Yah, you have Yahushai, then you have the husband, then the wife, then the children, right? Well, in this particular dream, it was, it made me think of how, you know, how does that work for step parents, right? How does that work for a stepmom or a stepfather, right? We all know Yahushua was raised by his mother and his stepfather, Joseph. So um, it makes me wonder, like, how does that work? But then again, sometimes people get married and it was not ordained by Yah. They put themselves together. He's nowhere in the midst of that relationship or that marriage. They stuck themselves together. He didn't do that. So this particular dream made me think about that. It made me also think about how there are women who choose men over their children. And I'm talking about like in toxic, abusive situations, putting the children's lives at risk, right? They're choosing all these different men and choosing to put these men over their husband, over their children, I'm sorry. But the thing is, when it comes to you're putting your children in harm's way, the man should not be chosen over your children, right? Especially if this man is not ordained by Yah, because if he was, you wouldn't be in a toxic, abusive relationship, right? And so it made me think of that. So in this particular dream, I was an observer, meaning that I was watching this play out. I was not a participant in this dream. I was just watching it happen. So a woman was sitting at a table and she had two blue bowls and they were upside down on the table. And she was talking about divorce to her son, who he was an adult. He had to be like early 20s, but he was an adult. And so the stepfather came in and she told him to leave and go back to his son, which was not her son, right? And so the stepfather said that the boy was not his son. You know, that who she was talking about, he was not his son. And so the woman's son, he kept repeating, "He is your son. He is your son. You need to go back to him," or what have you. I don't know where the son was. I don't know how old the son was. I don't know any of that. All I know is what was happening right in front of me. So the boy sat down, and the stepfather sat on his lap, which I thought was weird. He didn't sit on his lap like in a weird, like, you know, sexual type of way. He just sat on his lap. And so he was like, "So you're not my son?" And the boy said, "No." And so they got into it. The boy ended up with a bloody nose, and the stepfather left. So the boy told his mom that he was packing his bags and he was going to stay with a friend, that he was only staying for his sister Cassidy, who happened to be upstairs at this point, because when the mom got drunk, she would beat on Cassidy. And the boy knew his mother would take the stepfather back. You know, it's it's really hard when you have a grown son who lives with you and he sees you going through it with these men, and you're allowing these men to beat on you, to be verbally and physically abusive to you and to, if you have other younger children. That is hard to put your son in that kind of situation, because then when he, starts to date or get married, he may tend to have those same tendencies to be on and be, abusive to women and be in toxic relationships. It's also the same thing you're teaching your daughter, that it's okay if a man is with you and he beats you and he's verbally abusive, it's okay to stay with him. It's okay to be in a toxic relationship. It's okay to have to deal with that. That's love. And it's not. And I put a lot of emphasis on mothers because that's how it typically happens. Because when a woman and a man are not together, most often than not, the children live with the mother and they're being subjected to this kind of toxic behavior, which is not fair to them. It's not fair at all. And I'm just watching this play out. I'm just like, man, you know, like I would never want to put my son through that type of situation. Never. I would never want him to have to see that happening. You know, first of all, I'm not gonna put up with somebody putting their hands on me. That's just not what's gonna happen. That's just point blank period. The thing is, I think a lot of it is passed down because that mother may have seen her mother go through that. And she's like, oh, well, my mother went through it. Now I'm, you know, dealing with it. It's okay. He loves me. And now your son is leaving, right? Because he doesn't want to be around that. He knows you're going to take this man back, that you're just talking right now, that you're just talking about divorce. You're just talking, but putting no action behind it. So he has no belief that you're actually going to leave him and choose your children over this man. And it's like, now he's leaving. What about the daughter? Is the mom going to take it out on the daughter? You know, is she going to bring the husband back, the stepfather back? Is he going to do something to the daughter? Now, mind you, I don't know if the stepfather is the father of the daughter. I don't know that information. But the point is, when we get into these relationships with a mother or a father who is not the parent of our child, we have to think about our child's safety, right? And in a case where you do find a man or a woman who is of Yah, he put y'all together, I do think that that covering follows the same line as if that person was the other parent of your child, right? It would be Yah, Yahweh Shai, the husband, the wife, the children. When he puts things together, there's order. There's order, there's cohesiveness, there's love, there's no toxicity, there's none of that. But if he didn't put it together, there's going to always be chaos. There's going to be chaos, there's going to be abuse, there's going to be toxic relationship, there's going to be all types of stuff. It's going to be pure chaos. Make sure that when you are getting together with a person, that you have Yah's permission, the both of you have his permission to be together. And he should be in the center of your relationship. Because if he's not, I feel for the children, especially if children are involved. I fear for them. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because you know, that happens so often. More often than not, there's situations where a woman is getting with a man who's beating on her, beating her children, and she takes him back time and time again. We see this on TV, right? On television shows, we see that. And then the mother, she's probably on some drug or getting drunk and everything, and then taking it out on her children and blaming her children for the reason that the men won't stay when it's like it has nothing to do with the children. It's you. It's you. Build a relationship with Yah first before you try to build a relationship with someone who you would want to marry. You also have to think about this person being a potential parent to your children if the other parent is not there. But also, even if the other parent is there, this person needs to just be an additional adult that loves your children and cares for them like they're their own children. That is all.